Amy, they called me. I found myself once again drowning in the fluorescent glow of the hospital, working late into the night. It had become a familiar, almost unwelcome routine. The rhythmic hum of the machinery, the faint scent of antiseptic, the endless paperwork. It was my life. Ryan, my husband, was where I knew he would be, sprawled on the living room sofa, his eyes glued to the glowing screen of his phone. His fingers tapped furiously, lost in the digital world of a mobile game. The air hung heavy with the stale odor of a half-eaten pizza, the scattered beer cans lying around like discarded monuments to his indifference. The scent of burnt cheese and sour beer filled the room, a symphony of neglect that was beginning to grate on my nerves. "You're working too hard, Amy," he said, not bothering to look up from his game. His voice held a tone of casual complaint, tinged with a subtle undercurrent of annoyance. "What's the point of earning all that money if you don't even have time for me? Show me some affection, will you?" He stretched out his hand towards me, his eyes still fixated on the screen. I frowned, my weariness turning into a sharp, bitter feeling. "Who am I doing this for, Ryan?" "I'm doing it for us, of course. For the family that we're planning to have. It's natural that I work hard. We need the money." I worked as a registered dietitian at a large general hospital in San Diego, California. My job was demanding, but it was also something I was deeply passionate about. I believed in the power of good nutrition, in the ability of food to heal and sustain. My husband, Ryan, on the other hand, was a freelance graphic designer. He possessed a certain undeniable talent, a creative spark that sometimes left me in awe, but he lacked that essential sense of responsibility, a grounding that seemed to be missing from his very core. His income was unsteady, unpredictable, like the shifting sands of a restless desert. There was a time when Ryan used to say, a wide, genuine smile lighting up his face, "I'm so happy to be able to do what I love for a living." It had been early in our marriage, a time of shared dreams and boundless optimism. But with each passing month, with each late rent payment, with each credit card bill that seemed to swell like a balloon ready to burst, my stomach would churn with anxiety. Sleepless nights became my unwelcome companions, and I'd toss and turn, unable to shake off the heavy weight of worry. "Geez, women are so nitpicky," Ryan would say, his voice tinged with a dismissive impatience. "I'm working hard too, you know. Look, if I land this big project, I'll be rolling in the dough. We'll be set for life." He'd proudly show me his smartphone screen, displaying some website with a flashy, over-the-top design, the gaudy colors and cheap animations assaulting my eyes like a visual cacophony. I'd try to offer constructive criticism, but it always seemed to fall on deaf ears. "I hope that's true, Ryan," I'd reply, my voice weary, but still holding a sliver of hope. "But before that happens, please just pay the rent and the utilities. The fridge is also completely empty. Could you please go grocery shopping?" I sighed, my gaze drifting towards the refrigerator. I reached in, grabbing a bottle of mineral water. I was 5 months pregnant, the small life inside me beginning to stir with its own unique rhythm. The worst of the morning sickness had passed, but I still had days where my stomach would rebel, where the mere thought of certain foods would make my nausea surge with renewed intensity. Citrus fruits were the worst. I hadn't been able to drink orange juice in weeks, the scent alone enough to send me running to the bathroom. I'm thirsty," Ryan said, his voice laced with a petulance that always irritated me. "Is there any orange juice? And while you're at it, get me something to eat. I'm sick of pizza." He paused his game, looking at me with a petulant glare, his eyes still gleaming with a childish excitement. "No, there isn't," I replied, my tone sharper than I intended. "Go buy it yourself. And while you're at it, Can you get some grapefruit, yogurt, and some vegetables for a salad? I need to eat something too, you know. I'm not some kind of machine here for your convenience. You can't even eat anything because of your morning sickness, he scoffed, his gaze returning to his game. Besides, going shopping is a pain. I'm tired, so just let me rest a little. He settled back onto the sofa, already lost in the world of digital conflict. Ryan's words sent a shiver of anger through my body. He wasn't even remotely concerned about his pregnant wife's condition. He wasn't worried about the tiny life that was growing inside of me, the life that he helped to create. He was only thinking about himself, his own selfish needs and desires. It felt as if he was completely ignoring the existence of the tiny being within me, as if I were merely an inconvenience in his life. Forget it, I muttered, my voice tight with suppressed rage. I gulped down the mineral water, the cold liquid doing little to soothe the burning fire of my anger. I turned and headed towards the bedroom, wanting to escape his suffocating presence. I could hear Ryan resuming his game behind me, the rhythmic tapping and the digitized sound effects filling the air like an unwelcome soundtrack. It was as if my words had never even reached his ears, as if he were living in an entirely different reality, one where I didn't exist. I collapsed onto the bed, the soft mattress doing little to ease the tension that was now a constant companion. As I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my mind raced back to the day that I met Ryan. It was at the wedding of a mutual friend, a joyous occasion that was supposed to be a celebration of love and commitment. Ryan had been a different man then. Charming, his smile as bright as the California sun, his conversation witty and engaging. He effortlessly attracted the people around him, his infectious laughter filling the room. He loved to surf and skateboard, his tanned skin, the golden blonde hair, the bright blue eyes all adding to his charm. The California sun seemed to suit him perfectly. He was my ideal man, the embodiment of everything I ever thought I wanted in a partner. He was like a movie star, a figure ripped from the pages of a romance novel. We quickly fell in love, drawn to each other like moths to a flame. It felt so perfect, so destined. Ryan was understanding of my work, showing genuine interest in my passion. He would often praise me, his voice filled with admiration. Amy is doing a wonderful job as a dietitian, supporting people's health. You're making a real difference, Amy. On the night that we promised to get married, his words were like a soothing balm to my soul. Amy, he had said, his eyes locking with mine, filled with tenderness and love. I'm so happy that I met you. I will love and support you for the rest of my life. You are everything I have ever wanted. I believed his words, every single one of them. I believed in his love, his commitment, his unwavering support. And so I decided to marry him, to build a life together, to become a family. And soon after, I found out that I was pregnant. We were both overjoyed at the prospect of a new life, a tiny being that would be the product of our love. We'd sit and talk for hours, lost in the blissful dream of a happy future. Ryan gently touched my belly, his voice tender and soft as he murmured, "I hope we have a healthy baby." But reality, as it so often does, was proving to be far more cruel, far more unforgiving. Instead of caring for me during my pregnancy, Ryan refused to help with the housework, refused to shoulder any of the responsibilities that came with being a partner. And to top it all off, I felt the tears begin to flow, tracing hot paths down my cheeks. How did things turn out this way? Where had the man I fell in love with gone? Did I do something wrong? Did I say something to upset him? I replayed our conversations in my head, searching for some clue, some sign of where it all had begun to unravel. But there were none. It all felt so bewildering. I couldn't sleep that night. Every time I heard Ryan snoring, the rhythmic sound a mocking reminder of the life I now found myself in, anger and sadness welled up inside of me. His snoring sounded like a cruel mockery of me, of my dreams, of my hopes for the future. "This can't go on," I whispered to myself, the words barely audible above the sound of my own breathing. "I have to carve out my own life, a life that is separate from his. I have to be strong for my baby's sake. I can't let my child grow up in this kind of environment." With that resolve, I decided to talk to Lucy, my friend who worked at the hospital. I knew I could trust her. I knew she would offer me some sound advice. The next morning, I sought her out in the hospital cafeteria. Lucy, who worked as a medical clerk, was always a good listener, her calm demeanor and thoughtful advice earning her the trust of those around her. She was 5 years older than me, and her mature perspective had often helped me to navigate the choppy waters of life. "Lucy, I need to talk to you about something," I said, my voice trembling slightly. I pulled her aside to a quieter corner of the cafeteria. "What's wrong, Amy? You look pale. Did something happen?" Lucy looked at me with concern, her gentle hazel eyes trying to soothe the storm within me. I took a deep breath, struggling to find the right words to express the pain and confusion that I had been carrying for so long. Her presence, her calm and understanding gaze, did calm me down. At least a little. I confessed to her, in a voice thick with emotion, about Ryan's sudden change in attitude, about his refusal to help with the housework, and his utter lack of concern for me during my pregnancy. As I spoke, the tears began to well up in my eyes, blurring my vision. I could barely speak, the words catching in my throat. "That's awful, Amy," Lucy said, her voice filled with anger and disgust. "Ryan is the worst. I can't believe he would treat his pregnant wife like that. It's just not right, not at all. She's usually so calm and collected, but she was unusually emotional after hearing what I had to say. What do you think I should do, Lucy? I can't trust Ryan anymore. I feel like I don't even know him anymore." My voice was small and tearful. "Amy, you've done nothing wrong. It's Ryan who's wrong. All of this, all of his behavior. Could it be that Ryan is seeing another woman?" Lucy's words landed like a punch in the gut, the very idea both shocking and terrifying. "No way," I gasped, my voice barely above a whisper. "That can't be true. Ryan said he loved me. He said he would never do anything to hurt me." I wanted to deny it, to push away the possibility, but deep down a nagging voice of doubt was beginning to grow louder. A bad feeling was forming in the pit of my stomach. Ryan's recent behavior, I had to admit, had been undeniably strange. He'd been coming home late more often than not, and not answering his phone. He used to text me, "I love you," every day, without fail, but that had stopped completely, weeks ago. It was like he'd simply forgotten me. "Amy, if that's the case, it's better to confirm it. It's better to know the truth, no matter how painful, than to suffer in ignorance, constantly wondering. It will be painful, I know, but you can't turn a blind eye to it, not anymore." Lucy's words pierced my heart, her directness a testament to the love and care she had for me. She always said the tough things to me because she wanted the best for me. She wanted me to be strong, not to wallow in delusion. I began to suspect, to truly suspect, that Ryan was having an affair, and that suspicion, like a slow-burning fire, soon turned into the chilling reality. I knew, somewhere deep inside, that my life was about to change. Lucy's words stuck with me, like a sharp shard of glass embedded in my skin. And so I started to observe Ryan's behavior with a newfound sense of awareness, a keenness that I hadn't possessed before. I looked closer, and I saw things that had been there all along, but that I hadn't noticed. I saw the changes that I had chosen to ignore, changes that were now glaringly obvious. First, his phone. It was always locked now. He used to have no qualms about showing me his phone, about sharing his life with me, but recently he had set a password. And every time I tried to touch it, every time my fingers even grazed the screen, he would make a blatant, disgusted face, as if I had committed some unforgivable crime. His phone had become a sacred, forbidden object, and it was clearly not for my eyes. And then, there were the secret phone calls, made late at night, often in the dead of the night when I was trying to sleep. At first, I'd tried to convince myself that they were work-related calls, that he was just trying to secure new projects. But his tone of voice, the sweet, whispering voice he used, clearly indicated that they weren't about work. It was the voice of someone who was enjoying a private conversation with someone he cared for, someone he clearly found more interesting than me. It was the voice of a man who was in love. Furthermore, he started going out more often on weekends, claiming that he was going surfing with his friends, engaging in activities that he knew I didn't particularly enjoy. However, he always used to tell me in advance, always made sure that I knew when he was planning to go out with his surfing buddies. Lately, though, he would just leave without a word, as if he didn't care if I was even aware of his whereabouts. Moreover, he had started to become overly concerned with his appearance, spending an inordinate amount of time in front of the mirror. He would meticulously apply sunscreen, carefully choosing new clothes, making sure that every strand of his hair was perfectly in place. It was as if he were trying to impress someone, and I knew deep down that it wasn't me. From these changes, these seemingly small and insignificant changes, I was convinced that Ryan was most likely having an affair, but I had absolutely no idea who the other woman was. I couldn't imagine it being anyone I knew. I couldn't imagine anyone who would be so callous and cruel, so willing to destroy a marriage. One afternoon, while I was trying to focus on the never-ending stream of paperwork at the hospital, I received an unexpected call from Lucy, her voice tight and serious. "Amy, come to the cafe near the hospital right now. I have something to tell you, and I need you to hear it." Her tone sent a chill down my spine, a sudden, unpleasant premonition that something terrible was about to unfold. I immediately left the hospital, my heart pounding in my chest. When I arrived at the cafe, Lucy was already seated at a table, her face pale, her eyes wide with worry. She was clearly agitated, her hands fidgeting nervously. "What's wrong, Lucy? Did something happen?" I asked anxiously, my voice barely above a whisper. "Amy, actually." "It's about Ryan." Lucy started to speak, her voice hesitant, the words almost trembling on her lips. "Ryan is having an affair. Well, the other woman is your sister, Olivia." Lucy's words hit me with the force of a physical blow, the world around me seeming to blur and spin out of control. My sister Olivia? I couldn't believe it. It was impossible. Olivia was my younger sister, 5 years my junior. She lived with my parents and had always been a bit of a handful. She had a flashy and selfish personality, a tendency to seek attention and a habit of picking on me, especially when we were younger. We had never been particularly close, and I never imagined that she would betray me in such a cruel and hurtful way. "Olivia. And Ryan?" I asked, my voice trembling. "Lying? Is this some kind of cruel joke?" "It's true, Amy. I wish it weren't. Yesterday, I happened to see Ryan and Olivia coming out of a motel. They were holding hands and looked very intimate, like lovers. Amy, like they were together. I can't believe it," Lucy said, looking down, unable to meet my gaze. I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. The pain was unbearable, a sharp, agonizing ache in my chest. Why, why Olivia? Why Ryan? Why would they do this to me? What had I done to deserve this kind of betrayal? Amy, calm down. It's best not to get emotional now. First, you should call Ryan and Olivia and hear what they have to say. Hear them out before you make any rash decisions, Lucy said, her voice laced with a blend of concern and firmness. Don't get emotional, okay? Lucy reiterated, her voice soft, as she patted my hand in a gesture of comfort. Before leaving the cafe, her own face etched with worry. Following Lucy's advice, I called Ryan and Olivia, summoning them to the cafe for a confrontation. After what felt like an eternity of waiting, about 30 minutes later, Ryan and Olivia finally appeared at the cafe. The two of them had clearly bumped into each other outside the cafe, and both were clearly flustered when they realized that they had both been summoned by me. It was clear that they hadn't been expecting to see each other. Amy, you said you wanted to talk. What's up? Ryan addressed me, his voice awkward, his eyes darting around the room, avoiding my gaze. He seemed nervous, like a child who had been caught stealing cookies from the jar. Ryan, I have some questions about your relationship with Olivia, I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside of me. I stared intently into Ryan's eyes, searching for some sign of remorse, some indication that he felt even a sliver of guilt for his actions. Huh? What are you talking about? Ryan replied, his eyes still avoiding mine. He was clearly trying to play it cool, but the subtle twitch in his jaw gave him away. Don't play dumb, Ryan. Lucy told me she saw you and Olivia coming out of a motel, holding hands, looking like lovers. I said angrily, my voice sharp, the anger boiling to the surface. Ryan sighed, as if he had given up on trying to maintain the facade of innocence. So, you found out, Amy. I'm sorry, I guess. Wait a minute. Olivia snapped, her voice sharp and filled with anger. Ryan, shouldn't you be apologizing to me before you apologize to Amy? I was supposed to be the one he loved. Olivia, what are you saying? I looked at Olivia in disbelief. She was clearly not sorry, not at all. I love Ryan much more than Amy does. He doesn't need to apologize to you for anything, really. Besides, I'm pregnant with Ryan's baby, Olivia said triumphantly, her words like a slap across the face, another knife twisting in the already gaping wound in my heart. I was shocked by my sister's words, by the sheer audacity of her betrayal. I couldn't believe that Olivia loved Ryan, that she had been secretly seeing my husband, and now that she was pregnant with his child. The level of deception was simply staggering. Olivia, you know I'm pregnant, right? Why would you do this to me? I pleaded, my voice thick with tears. So what if you're pregnant? Ryan doesn't love you. He says he wants to be with me. He says he wants to stay married to Amy, but he also wants to see me, too. Olivia interrupted me and shouted, her voice laced with a cruel and selfish arrogance. Ryan remained silent, his head bowed, his gaze fixed on the floor. He didn't defend me, he didn't deny Olivia's claims. He just sat there, as if completely devoid of any emotion, completely devoid of empathy. Ryan, is it true? Do you really want to stay married to me and see Olivia at the same time? Is that what you truly want? I turned my gaze to Ryan, my voice trembling, my heart breaking into a million pieces. Ryan, unable to meet my eyes, nodded slightly, his face flushed with shame. I was devastated by Ryan's words, by the confirmation of his betrayal, by his callous indifference. He had betrayed me, and with my own sister. Neither of them showed any remorse. Neither of them even seemed to understand the depth of the pain they had caused me. I understand, I said, my voice flat, devoid of any emotion. I want a divorce. I don't want to stay with someone who would treat me this way. I can't. I was holding back the tears that were threatening to overwhelm me. Amy? Ryan looked at me in surprise, as if he hadn't expected me to react this way, as if he had thought I would simply accept his betrayal. I don't love you anymore, Ryan. I can't stay with such a selfish man. Goodbye, Ryan. Goodbye, Olivia. We were supposed to be sisters, but we are not anymore, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I pushed my chair back from the table, got up, and ran out of the cafe, wanting to escape the suffocating air, wanting to escape the presence of these two people who had destroyed my life. That day, I lost both my husband and my sister. They were both gone from my life forever. I ran out of the cafe, tears streaming down my face. I wandered the streets aimlessly, not knowing where I was going, my heart aching with a pain that felt unbearable. I couldn't forgive Ryan and Olivia's betrayal, their selfish behavior, their utter lack of remorse. I couldn't understand why I had to go through this, why I had to suffer so much. The injustice of it all felt overwhelming. After walking for what seemed like an eternity, I found myself drawn to the ocean, the familiar sound of the waves beckoning me. I sat down on the beach, my knees pulled up to my chest, and cried, my sobs echoing into the vast emptiness of the sea. The ocean had always been a healing place for me, a place where I could find solace and peace. Ever since I was a child, I would often come to the ocean when I had worries, the rhythmic sound of the waves washing away my anxieties, calming my heart, and making me feel more positive. The salty air would often soothe me, the vastness of the sea reminding me that my problems were small in the grand scheme of things. However, today, no matter how much I listened to the sound of the waves, no matter how much I tried to calm myself, my heart wouldn't clear up, the pain still sharp, still raw. Ryan and Olivia's betrayal had deeply wounded me, leaving a gaping hole in my heart that felt like it could never be filled. It felt like all my dreams and hopes had been ripped away, leaving me adrift in a sea of despair. How much time had passed? I wasn't even sure. As the sun began to set into the ocean, painting the sky with hues of orange and pink, and the surroundings grew dim, I finally stood up, my body stiff from sitting in one place for so long. I knew I couldn't stay here forever. I had to make a choice. I had to do something. This can't go on, I whispered to myself, the words barely audible above the sound of the waves. I have to carve out my own life. I have to be strong for my baby's sake. I have to find a way to move forward, to survive this. With that resolve, a small spark of determination ignited within me. I called Lucy, my voice thick with tears, struggling to keep the emotions at bay. Lucy, hello, it's me, Amy. I'm at the beach right now, just sitting. Amy, are you okay? What's wrong? Lucy asked, her voice filled with genuine concern. She could always tell when something was wrong, her intuition always spot on. I told Lucy about how Ryan and Olivia had betrayed me, about the cruel and selfish way they had behaved. I told her about my decision to get a divorce, about my desire to sever all ties with them. I laid it all out, my emotions raw and exposed. Amy, so that's what happened. I can't believe they would do that to you. It's tough, but I think you made the right decision. It's better to break up with a guy like Ryan, someone who would treat you so poorly. You don't deserve this. Lucy understood my feelings and comforted me. Thank you, Lucy, I said, my voice still shaky. But I don't know what to do from now on. If I divorce Ryan, how am I going to live? What should I do about the baby? How am I going to raise my child on my own? I was full of anxiety, my mind racing with all the uncertainties of the future. It's okay, Amy. You're not alone. I'll help you, just like I said before. First, come to my house. Get some rest and a good night's sleep, and then we'll think about what to do next. We can figure this out together. You don't have to go through this alone, Lucy said, her voice filled with reassurance and support. Encouraged by Lucy's words, by her unwavering support, I decided to stay at her place for the time being. I needed some time to regroup, some time to get my life back in order, and I knew that I could trust Lucy to help me through this difficult time. Lucy's house was a small apartment, about a 15-minute drive from the hospital, a cozy little place that she had transformed into a haven of peace and tranquility. She lived alone, her independence a testament to her strength and resilience. Lucy made me some warm tea, its soothing scent filling the small apartment. She sat with me, listening patiently as I poured out my story, my words tumbling out of me like a waterfall. I told her everything, from when I first met Ryan, to our marriage, my pregnancy, and his betrayal. I didn't leave out anything, wanting to share the full weight of the burden that I had been carrying alone for so long. Amy, you've really been through a lot. Getting married to Ryan, getting pregnant, and then having to deal with all of this. Ryan trampled on your feelings, and he showed that he is just not a good person. You're right to leave him. You deserve so much better than that. Lucy listened to my story, her eyes filled with a mixture of anger and sadness. She even shed a few tears for me, her empathy a balm to my wounded soul. Thank you, Lucy, I said, my voice thick with emotion. But I just don't know what to do from now on. I feel so lost, so unsure of myself, so unease. The uncertainty of the future was a heavy weight on my shoulders. It's okay, Amy. You're not alone. You have me, and you have all our colleagues at the hospital. We will support you every step of the way. Besides, you're a talented dietitian, Amy. You'll be able to go back to your old department soon. You'll be able to start over. You're strong, you're capable, and you're going to get through this. Lucy encouraged me, her words giving me a small sliver of hope, a tiny spark of courage. Lucy, thank you. You're truly my best friend. I don't know what I would do without you. I expressed my gratitude to Lucy, my voice filled with genuine emotion. You're welcome, Amy. We are friends, and friends support each other through thick and thin. Lucy replied with a warm smile, a smile that always managed to make me feel a little bit better. That night, I slept in Lucy's bed. For the first time in a long time, I was able to sleep peacefully, without the constant worry, without the constant fear. I felt safe, secure, and loved, something I hadn't felt for a very long time. Having gotten used to life in my new apartment and finding fulfillment in my work, I was leading a fulfilling life, both physically and mentally. I was happy, I was proud of what I had achieved, and I was content with my decisions. My baby was growing healthfully, and as my due date approached, my anticipation and joy of becoming a mother grew. I was ready. I was prepared for the greatest adventure of my life. One day, while I was busy at the hospital, immersed in my work, I received a call from Ryan, a call that completely surprised me. I couldn't hide my disbelief at the sudden call from him, whom I hadn't contacted at all since the divorce. Amy, it's me. Ryan's voice on the other end of the phone sounded somewhat weak, lacking the confidence and arrogance it once possessed. It was like the wind had been taken out of his sails, like he was a completely different person. Ryan, what do you want? I replied coldly, my voice sharp, my emotions still raw from his betrayal. Well, I need help moving, Ryan said apologetically, his voice barely above a whisper. Moving? Where are you moving to? I asked, puzzled by his request. I couldn't imagine why he would call me after everything that he had done. Actually, he hesitated, his voice filled with shame. Olivia left me. She's gone. I have nowhere to live, Amy. I don't know where else to turn. Ryan's words surprised me. Olivia left Ryan? No way. After all of that? After all the destruction that they had caused? And you want me to help you move? After everything that you have done to me? I said in a dumbfounded tone, my voice laced with disbelief. I have no one else to turn to, Amy. You're the only one that I can ask. Ryan pleaded, his voice filled with desperation. I hesitated, unsure of what to do. Ryan was the worst kind of man, a man who had betrayed me in the most cruel and hurtful way. But he was in trouble now. He had lost everything, and I couldn't help but feel a small sliver of pity for him. Maybe I should help him. Maybe I should show him that I was a better person than him. Okay, I said with a sigh, the words feeling heavy on my tongue. When are you moving? Tomorrow. Thank you so much, Amy. Ryan said, his voice filled with relief, like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. The next day, I found myself standing outside of Ryan's old apartment, a place that had once been my home, my sanctuary, but was now a hollow shell of its former self. The inside of the apartment had been transformed into a garbage dump, a chaotic mess of discarded pizza boxes and empty beer cans scattered everywhere, leaving no place to step. It was like he had simply given up, like he had completely lost all sense of order. Ryan, you were living in a place like this? I said, frowning, my nose wrinkling in disgust. Yeah, he mumbled, his eyes looking down at the floor. I haven't felt like doing anything since Olivia left. I don't even care anymore. Looking at Ryan, I felt a pang of pity for him, despite the pain he had caused me. He may have been the worst man, a man who had betrayed me in the most unforgivable way. But now, he looked weak and pathetic, like a different person, a broken shell of the man he once was. He had clearly fallen very far. I helped Ryan pack his belongings, the silence between us heavy and uncomfortable. There weren't many belongings to pack. Most of them were just his personal items, like clothes and his collection of surfboards. It was like he hadn't really put down any roots, like he hadn't ever truly belonged anywhere. It was a sad thing to witness. When we finished packing, the apartment looking somewhat cleaner, I decided to make chili for Ryan, as his last supper, as a farewell gesture. I knew that he loved chili. It had always been one of his favorite meals, and I thought that it might be a nice thing to do, a way to perhaps bring some sense of closure to this whole terrible chapter of my life. I stood in the kitchen, my movements precise and deliberate as I started making the chili. I put onions, garlic, ground meat, tomatoes, beans, and all the other ingredients into a pot, and then slowly simmered them, stirring them with care and purpose. I knew how to cook. It was one thing I had always been good at, one thing that gave me a sense of control. And for the finishing touch, I added a large amount of my secret super spicy chili sauce, a fiery concoction that I had bought when I went on a trip to Mexico. Its spiciness was more than 10 times that of regular chili sauce, and I knew that it would pack a serious punch. Ryan, the chili is ready, I said, my voice flat, as I served the chili to Ryan in a large bowl. Thank you, Amy, Ryan said, his voice filled with gratitude, completely unaware of the fiery surprise that awaited him. He took a large bite of the chili, completely unsuspecting, his expression one of anticipation. The next moment, Ryan's face changed color, his eyes widening in shock and surprise. Ah, spicy! What is this? Ryan shouted, his voice filled with pain, his body racked with a series of coughs. I watched him, a smirk playing on my lips, as the effects of the spicy chili sauce began to take hold. You need more stimulation, don't you, Ryan? I thought you liked it hot. This much is just right, isn't it? Please give me water. Give me water. This is too much. Ryan begged, his face red, his eyes watering. Ryan tried to drink water, desperate to soothe the burning sensation in his mouth. But instead of water, I handed him a glass of carrot juice with a generous amount of the super spicy chili sauce mixed in. "Here you go, Ryan. I thought you might like some extra kick," I said with a smile, my eyes glinting with a sense of dark satisfaction. Ryan, completely unaware of the additional spicy concoction, drank the carrot juice without any suspicion. "Oh, make it stop. Please make it stop," Ryan groaned, his body contorting in pain, the spicy chili sauce now wreaking havoc on his stomach. He was clearly suffering, and I couldn't deny that a part of me enjoyed watching him. I filmed Ryan's agonizing suffering on video and then posted it online, the video quickly going viral. "Now my revenge on you is complete," I muttered with satisfaction, a sense of triumph and liberation washing over me. It felt good to finally stand up for myself, to finally exact a small measure of justice for the pain and suffering that I had endured. The video of Ryan's agonizing suffering spread like wildfire on the internet. The comments section flooded with a mixture of outrage and amusement. "Punishment for a cheating man. I feel so refreshed. He got what he deserved," were just a few of the comments that were being posted. And Ryan, as a result, became the target of online ridicule, his face now infamous all over the internet. As a result of his infidelity and irresponsible behavior, Ryan was driven into a corner, both financially and mentally. He lost his place to live, he couldn't find a job, and he was abandoned by his friends, all of whom were now aware of his cruel actions. He was completely alone, completely broken, and he had only himself to blame. Olivia, who became pregnant with Ryan's child, realized the hardships of raising a child as a single mother. She had no financial support from Ryan, he was essentially useless, and she was forced to move back in with her parents, relying on them for help and support. She had always dreamed of a glamorous life, filled with luxury and attention, but the reality of her situation was harsh and unforgiving. She was trapped, and the life she had imagined was now a distant fantasy. On the other hand, I became incredibly successful as a nutritionist, carving out a name for myself in the local community. I started living an independent life, my apartment becoming a true sanctuary, a space of my own making. My work at the hospital was fulfilling, and I had earned the trust and respect of my patients. I was making a difference in people's lives, and I was proud of what I had accomplished. I was able to contribute to the local community by focusing on nutritional guidance for pregnant women, my experience helping me to connect with them on a deeper level. As my due date approached, I went on maternity leave, eager to welcome my daughter into the world. Lucy and my colleagues held a baby shower for me, showering me with love, gifts, and warm support. They helped me prepare for childbirth, providing me with everything I needed, their kindness a testament to the bonds of friendship that we had formed. I felt so loved, so supported, and so ready. And a little earlier than my due date, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl, my heart overflowing with love. I named my daughter Mia, a name that was both beautiful and meaningful. Mia means mine in Spanish, and it was a perfect name for my daughter, the one person who was now the center of my universe. Mia was Ryan's child, but I decided to raise her on my own. He didn't deserve to be a father. He didn't deserve to be a part of her life. He had forfeited that right when he had betrayed me. My life became even richer after Mia was born. My days filled with a mix of joy, exhaustion, and overwhelming love. Juggling work and childcare was tough, but every time I saw Mia smile, every time I held her in my arms, all the sacrifices, all the struggles, all the hardships felt worthwhile. The wounds of the past haven't completely healed, the betrayal of Ryan and Olivia having left a deep scar on my heart, a constant reminder of the pain I had endured. But I was determined to live my life looking forward, not back, and I knew that I had to be strong, for Mia's sake. I hoped to meet someone someday, someone who would love me, someone who would be worthy of my trust, and someone who would help me build a truly trustworthy partnership, a love that was real and authentic. A few years later, I had furthered my career as a nutritionist, becoming a registered dietitian, and eventually the head of the hospital's nutrition guidance department. I was making a real difference in people's lives, and I was proud of what I had accomplished. Mia also grew up healthily and happily, becoming a cheerful, bright little girl full of life and laughter. She was my treasure, my everything, and my hope for the future, the reason I continued to fight every single day. One day, while I was at the park, taking Mia for a walk, I by chance ran into Ryan and Olivia, a meeting that left me feeling cold and distant. Ryan looked haggard and old, his face lined with worry and regret, his eyes filled with a sadness that I couldn't ignore. Olivia was holding a child with a tired expression, her eyes lacking the spark and confidence they once had. It was like life had drained them of all their energy. As soon as Ryan saw me, he bowed his head apologetically, his voice barely above a whisper. "Amy, I'm glad you're doing well. I'm sorry for all the pain I caused you." I ignored Ryan, pretending that he wasn't even there. I didn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. He was nothing to me. I didn't even feel anger. It was more like apathy, like he had become a ghost in my memory. I simply left the park, holding Mia's hand tightly, wanting to put as much distance as possible between us. I didn't want to have anything to do with Ryan anymore. He was a person who had disappeared from my life, never to return. I walked towards the future, holding Mia's hand tightly, my head held high, ready to face whatever lay ahead with courage and determination.